Bro, there's nothing that I'm taking out of this so far. Not a single song I'm adding to a playlist.
There's not a single good song here.
That was one of our reactions to Lil Baby's new album called It's Only Me. If you guys want to view the full live stream, go to the link in our description. But let's get into this, man, because we've been waiting for this Lil Baby album for a minute now. And I want to start off with the artist performance, because Lil Baby's known to bring in these super energetic and quick flows, always has a lot to say on his albums, usually full of bangers. But I don't feel like that was the case today, bro.
He did not have much to say when you're looking at this album. And I think that when it comes to Baby's performance overall, you're getting a lot of repetitive flows. It seems like he's recycling a lot of the cadences and flows that he's done even on albums like My Turn or Harder Than Ever. I also feel like when it comes to Baby's more melodic stuff, you kind of find yourself in more of a sleepy space. The auto-tune effects that he uses on certain tracks on here do not complement the songs at all.
Yeah, not only that, but like once you find them getting into like that slurred and sort of, I would say, mumbly delivery.
Like you heard on Detox, which thank God did not make this album.
Exactly. Or something like, I believe it was even on Heyy, like he used that slurred delivery quite a bit. And I was just kind of like, man, I want to hear Lil Baby rapping. You know, I want that wants and needs. I want that freestyle. I want that something to prove. I want something that's going to stimulate me, because going into this album, I really didn't take anything away from it from his performance, bro. Like, It was just, you're there for 23 songs and you're kind of wondering, okay, like what could change track from track? And it doesn't really happen. And you could say, okay, maybe that's a product of him trying to carry too long of a track list. Maybe that's a product of him using the same productions over and over and over again, which we'll talk about in the production section of the review. But man, like it was a sleeper.
There was certain highlights on songs like Not Finished, for example. When he has that speedier flow, he definitely picks up more momentum. He has more confidence in those types of songs. So that was, I guess, decent. But when you're even looking at Lil Baby and the way that he actually forms his rhymes, you'll notice that from one line to the next, there's no logical like continuity. Like he'll splurt out something random and follow it up with something that has nothing to do with the previous line. So he's not setting himself up for any punchlines on here. Apart from that, like I was telling you in the stream, that hook to Heyy, which you found super annoying, it's the catchiest fucking thing on here, bro.
Yeah.
Nothing sticks. Nothing is addictive the same way that you got addictive melodies on songs like Emotionally Scarred, for example, on the previous album. So I feel like this is a major regression from Baby in terms of his performance.
He did deliver some nice verses, though. Example, the verse on Never Hating with Young Thug. That was a cool verse. I did enjoy that from him. But again, like, even when you do find out, like, when you do find those sort of standard performances from him, they're standard to his catalog. Like, you're not getting anything new or refreshing here. So, listen, I think the artist performance was mid. Overall, you're going to find the same flows and recycled deliveries that you found on other albums. Nothing too inspiring or energetic out of the track list. And I think it's maybe even a product of him trying to carry these 23 fucking
album
songs,
should have been
bro.
called It's Only Me in My Car Collection.
That's true. That's facts, dude. Like, every single song has like three main pillars for content matter: cars, women, and the success that he's garnered.
And like the whole rags to riches story, which we've heard a million times before.
And I know, like, and salute to him to bringing that back into the album. Like, I really like hearing those types of stories. Just they're delivered in the same way over and over again. And even I'm not sure if you saw the video of his boys bumping, Heyy with him, and in the studio, but even they looked asleep when listening to
Funk Flex seemed like he wanted to walk out of the room during the freestyle.
But that's what I'm trying to say, though, is that like a lot of this material does sound outdated. But let's keep going on with this.
That's going to be a mid-rating for the artist performance. Let's now go into the features on the album. And right away, as soon as we saw that feature list being revealed, I don't think any of the fan base was that pleased, because you have Nardo Wick, you have Young Thug, you have Future, you have Friday, Rilo Rodriguez, Jeremy, ESTG, and Pooh Shiesty. You didn't have Gunna, which that's a staple for Baby. You didn't have Lil Durk on here. You didn't have Drake, who always brings the best out of Baby. So already it was underwhelming on paper. On execution, also underwhelming.
No, it wasn't well performed. I'm going to be honest with you. Listen, I'm going to say this, though. Young Thug had a fantastic verse.
He was sliding.
Yeah, Young Thug had a fantastic verse on Never Hating. Friday was all right on Forever. I didn't like his chemistry with Lil Baby. I found like they were kind of in two different zones when competing, and it didn't sound too great. But he only had the chorus, so it wasn't all that bad. I got
to talk about Pop Out with Nardo Wick. That awkward-ass transition from Baby to Nardo Wick made no sense. It felt like you were listening to two separate songs that were just thrown together, and his whole whispering deadpan delivery didn't do anything for me.
It was okay though because he did. Listen. I'm gonna maybe disagree with you a bit
Really?
there because Naruto Wick was not the problem with that song. The issue was how abruptly he came into the track.
It's the way it came together.
Exactly,
for sure.
because if you go back to his verse, it's actually decent. It's really not a bad verse. He delivered on it. It's just then
was okay.
And then Lil Baby had room to perform after on that second part. It was just like I can't really find much with it. But I also want to talk about Future on From Now On. Started off the verse super strong, just kind of got slower with his delivery and his flow at the end, and didn't hit as much as I wanted it to. But still, it was a good verse.
Rilo Rodriguez had an awful performance on Cause to Be Alive.
That really wasn't good.
Shice Talk with Pooh Shiesty. The man was interrupting himself after every single line.
It was mixed really badly too.
Totally offbeat. And yeah, the features on here, if you want to look at, Jeremy, he didn't even... Jeremiah, my bad. Usually he delivers great vocal performances, but this one was nothing to write home about.
Exactly, and I think that it was also the way that he was implemented into it, because I'm going to talk about this more in the production, but like there was like this small dead noise in my headphones for when that song started. You could hear the production starting, then boom, he just starts singing, and then it's kind of like it really wasn't introduced in a good way. But SG on Back and Forth, pretty standard for SG.
Yes, TG. Yeah, but I mean, listen, when it comes to ESTG's performance, wasn't all that great, but overall, I wasn't thrilled with the features, bro.
I wasn't thrilled with this feature list. I'm being honest with you.
Do we give it mid or bad?
No. I think it was a mid feature. It wasn't a bad feature list. No one performed on a bad note, except for Rilo. I think that was kind of my thing.
And Pusheisty, but yeah, I think
Pusheisty was kind of substandard, It was kind of up to his par.
That's generous of you to say. Let's go with mid as the rating for the features, but let's now go on to the weakest aspect of this album, and that's the production. And what's mind-blowing about this to me is the fact that you're getting a lot of talented producers on here, such as Boy Wonder, such as Q Beats, such as Murda Beats. And the bottom line is that you kind of have to put a bit of the blame on Baby, because he's the one selecting these productions which sound identical song after song. I mean, if you're going to talk about, let's say, the sparse snare drums that come in on a song like, I believe it was FR. If you're going to talk about the repetitive 808 drum patterns or hi-hats that come in song after song, you're left wondering, why did he choose the same fucking beat?
Yeah, even at that, like some of the samples that were chosen for the album, they're good samples, but I just don't feel like they fit in the context of this Lil Baby track. Let's example, "Cause to Be Alive." That was a song with Rilo Rodriguez. Like, as you were saying, that sample was used on J. Cole's Friday Night Lights, and it was fantastic. It was a great sample flip. In this case, it doesn't sound good because it's always the same hi-hats and the same drum patterns that are being put onto these soul samples.
Same thing within a minute. He sampled the same sample from Pound Cake from El Goulding, and it didn't come out that well, bro.
Exactly. And I think that's probably a big flaw with me in this album, is like, you're going to see that Lil Baby doesn't try to experiment with anything on here. Like, he doesn't try to put himself in a different type of soundscape for him to strive in. And that's kind of an issue with me, because he's seen constant success. I'm a big fan of his catalog, and I want to see him upgrade on this one. You go back to My Turn, there's not a single beat that sounds the same. They're all super high voltage energy.
I don't know if none of them sound the same, but there is more diversity.
But there's a lot more diversity. Yeah. I'm saying that, like, in the context of the songs, like, he had a lot more room to play on there, and there's a lot more going on in the soundscape of My Turn in comparison to this one.
Yeah.
And I think that even as you get through it, bro, you're starting to realize these beats are literally copy paste, bro. Like, you can't run away from it. What did Boy Wonder produce? I'm not sure.
I believe the song was Everything. Yeah. It was everything.
It was everything. Even for a Boy Wonder and Seven Thomas production, like, it's not their fault, but bro, like, it sounded a bit cheap, bro. It sounded like
the piano keys did not sound great on there.
All. Yeah.
And that's the thing too, is that it's like, obviously you're getting these hard-hitting drums for the most part, but there's always the complimentary, piano riff, or maybe a sample that's fucking pitched up that really sounds shrieky and doesn't really sound mixed that well. That's another thing. The mixing and mastering on this album wasn't great whatsoever.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, it is the most formulaic trap soundscape of the entire year. Very generic sounds,
and it's sleepy,
nothing
bro.
that stands out. And like you were saying, Baby does everything he can to stay within his comfort zone, and that's what it felt like to me. It's like, oh, this is my type of shit. This is a type of beat that I could float on which he doesn't for the most part. But yeah, I just think the beats really do suffer, and it definitely brings down the quality of this album. It was bad. The production was bad on
Yeah,
here.
it was a bad soundscape. I didn't like it whatsoever. But let's go on to the replay value, bro. Like, I don't even know what I'm taking out of this. You have 23 songs, runs you an hour and 5 minutes. I mean, I didn't have pacing issues up until like maybe like the first half, or like maybe half it a bit, and then once you get towards the end, bro, it gets really, really.
How many
really
songs you
bad.
got out of here? Let me go see what I would have.
Okay, listen, I'm gonna be Real Spill, maybe. That's a big maybe for me. I would probably say Never Hating. I would probably say In a Minute. I would probably say, sheesh, that's it, bro. I think
Wow.
I have 2-3 tracks out of this track.
I would
That's what you
go
got.
with In a Minute. I'd go with Not Finished for sure. Never Hating, I guess.
Not Finish is fire.
And potentially Real Spill, just because I do love some of the subject matter about him talking about not having to make his mom work another day in her life. Like, it was super positive, it was optimistic, it was good vibes. So that was definitely a highlight, even though the album didn't really start off with a bang the way that I would have wanted it to.
Yeah, and we were talking about this in the stream where, like, usually trap albums, all of the best songs are stacked towards the first half. You have a crazy run of maybe 4 or 5 songs. You're engaged. That didn't happen here.
No.
Okay, because I like Real Spill as a song, but it's sleepy. It's not going to get you engaged into the track list right away. Then you start getting towards it, and it's like, okay, what can I really grab out of this? And there's maybe only 2 to 3 songs, and I get it. It's a Lil Baby album. It's not meant to be overanalyzed, and even when you don't want to overanalyze it just for the good sentiment of good music, you're not necessarily getting this here. So I think the replay value is bad, but let's get into our overall thoughts on the album. I expected a lot more, bro. I'm not going to lie to you. And there was sort of this, sentiment around the community when they heard the singles that, geez, this might disappoint, because you got the singles. You realized that they weren't great. You saw 23 tracks on this fucking album. You knew that was probably going to be a problem. Then you look at the feature list and you're like, wow, there's some important people missing here. What is this really going to sound like? And I think that was the issue overall with this album, was like, you're disappointed. The major pacing issues completely disengage you from the track list, and Lil Baby literally did nothing to leave his comfort zone.
Major pacing issues, despite the fact that a lot of these songs are under 3 minutes long. Like, he made sure to make these songs not last too long, but I think that
which is a W in my
Lil
in my opinion.
Baby couldn't accomplish the same highs as he did with My Turn in terms of having hit songs. I don't think any of these songs are going to chart high or be bangers that are played within a lot of people's rotations as the year goes on. Apart from that, I think that Baby lacks the ability to create any catchy flows or melodies within the entire album. I think that the flows get stale within the first couple of songs on here. Nothing is interesting from a subject matter point of view. Nothing is interesting in terms of his rhyming styles. It seems like he was kind of not putting in as much effort as he has in the past. Awful beat selection from beginning to end. And it's just one of the most disappointing albums from an artist who was on his way to being the face of hip hop, really.
If he isn't already, because he has the throne right now, and like what
does
this
he?
album
Does he have the throne? I don't think so.
Absolutely. Bro, he's still one of the most popular rappers in the world. Like, this dud is not going to do anything for him. Like, I genuinely think, and I know he's going to come back and deliver something good, because he's a fantastic rapper, and you can't take that away from him. It's just that this is low key the first dud in his catalog. He doesn't have a dud in his catalog, in my opinion.
Oh, he does now.
well, not now with It's Only Me. So
Yeah.
listen, I think. I hate to say this, bro. I think the overall rating is bad on this album. It was a bad listen. It really wasn't that great. But let us know in the comment section, where did we get it right? Where did we fuck up? How do you guys feel the album? And listen, if you guys enjoyed the album, explain to us why in the comment section. We're going to be going through it. And then after that, we're going to be giving this more listens as we go on with it. And
it's only mid.
Yeah,
it's only mid for me.
Nah.
Well, actually, it's only bad. Sorry, it's not even a mid rating, in my opinion.
But anyways, let's keep going with this. I mean, overall, yeah, it's a bad album, and you guys can let me know how you feel about it in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this, and we'll catch you in the next one.